Clerk, please call roll.
Bartlett.
Here.
Cook.
Here.
Hopkins. Mudd.
Here.
Old Dental. Aaron Scott. Bill Scott. Wankel.
Here.
Womanowski. Williams.
Here.
Mayor Essex.
Here.
Here.
Just real quick, under the mayor's report that's not on the agenda, is, there was some correspondence sent. We annually review this. I just want to make sure you guys are still on board. Jacksonville Main Street is again requesting a $5,000 sponsorship for the 2019 Downtown Concert Series. While a few bands have yet to be signed on, the event dates would be every Friday starting May 31st through August 2nd, with the exceptions of July 5th and 12th. The event itself will run similarly as like the last 3 years. This is a free public music event. All of you have been there. You know, we just routinely ask the council if you still want to continue this. So can I say to go?
I'm go here.
I mean, that's why we did the downtown.
I'm good if Tony's good.
All right.
I say nothing about good.
Good? Okay. City Attorney's report.
Thank you. 2 items. One is discuss transfer of 2018 home rule volume cap to West Illinois Economic Development Authority. This is the request we get every year. WIETA asks that any municipality that doesn't use their home rule volume cap, which is a binding amount that you can do, if they're not anticipating using any of it, to transfer it to them so they can parcel it out amongst other projects. Again, the city is limited to the amount of private activity bonds that it can issue. The amount that we could issue is $1,937,670. We have not issued any private activity bonds for as long as
Other
I've
than
been.
water bonds or just no GO bonds?
Nothing. So we've never used this. The advantage of transferring it to WIETA, as we've done in the past, is if some project would come along that we could use private activity bonds to get some industry or something in here, then we can go back to WIETA. Since we banked ours with them, they will be cooperative in getting it back to us. So we transfer it to them when we don't anticipate we're gonna use it, knowing that we could get a lot more than our share back sometime in the future.
Don't want to lose anything.
Not losing anything.
And in anticipation of the enterprise zone, you know, we reapplied for that, and we won't know for a while. You know, if something happens where we don't receive that, which is very stiff competition, is a very good possibility. This is a good entity to be a good neighbor with, where we can fall back, and if we ever have something, we can ask for their help.
Yeah.
So I view this kind of being a good neighbor. You know, we're not using it, but them. You know, it's a regional, you know, thing, and, you know, it could benefit us in the future.
Okay. Second item I have is to discuss amending the liquor ordinance. This has to do with the El Rancherito license. It was not renewed at the beginning of the year. They may at some point want to come back in for it, but right now it's been sitting there for quite some time, and it's been our practice, anytime there's a license that has not been renewed, to terminate it, so that if somebody else wants one, they have to come back to you to get that. So that's all that we've done.
Okay, committee reports, Alderman Cook.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. We have one item next, presentation of the 2018 annual report for the Jacksonville Policeman's Pension Fund, Jacksonville Fireman's Fund, and John Smallchank is here to tell us all about it.
Be prepared to be on the edge of your seats. This is not an audited report, obviously, because that audit's not done until May, presented, you know, later. So, but this is required by me, to put together, to present to the council, to the 2 boards, by the second meeting in May, I believe. So I'm just getting together a little bit. It's pretty simple stuff. It's police and fire. You can look it over. If you have questions now, I'd be happy to answer them. If you have questions later, you can call me or come in. There's really nothing exceptional in here. No huge expenses. A couple of big numbers on police, I believe it is. We had a couple of people transfer their pensions to other pension activity, you know, to Springfield or state police or whatever. So if you see numbers on there, that's what those are. It's pretty basic stuff. Questions?
So the tax rate we did in December 2018,
Pardon me?
the tax rate we did December 2018 was on the results of the pension in 2017.
Here's the tax numbers right there.
So that's for 2018. Do you know what the increase will be and how much we have to contribute to the pension coming up in December?
Yeah, you guys approved that at a meeting not too long ago.
This December.
I'm not sure I'm following you.
We don't get that until November.
Yeah.
From the actuaries? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Tell us the, but
Yeah,
haven't
no.
got that yet.
Do you have?
I don't know that, yeah.
Do you know what the market performance was then for this report?
Neither one of them were fantastic last year because of the performance of the market the last 45 days of the year. But I think that they both, and again, it's unaudited, reached the threshold of the 6.75% that they're required, so.
I guess the question I had was, the year 2017 is what was, the results for the year 2017 were what led us to have to put extra money in the fund in December 2018.
Right, and that's those numbers right there is what.
So what I'm asking for is what were the 2017 results versus the 2018 results?
The 2017 results for the stock market were exceptional. It was like 13% in both funds.
So then you're saying that the 2018 fund, the investments didn't do as well as 2017?
Nobody did. The stock market did.
No,
The
I'm not-
stock market went crazy towards the end of the year.
Right.
And it came back and, you know, it's obviously very cyclical. No, Steve, to answer your question, it did 13% the year before, 6.5%, 7% this year. Again, that's unaudited. So yeah, it wasn't great, but it reached the threshold of what was required by the state. And if you recall, what's required by the state includes an amount over and above what they think is necessary to be fully 90% funded by 2040. So the state builds that in.
So 17 results were 13% increase, and 2018 results were 6.5% increase. More or
I'm
less.
speculating on the last year, but yeah, again, it's not been audited yet. The number that the investment people turn in and the number that the auditors come up with always is kind of mysteriously different, so.
So the reason I'm asking the questions is we had to contribute more to the pension fund on a year when the market was up 13%. So this past year, the market was up 6.5%, which means that we're probably gonna have to contribute even more this year.
And that will be built into the actuarial tax law.
Right. But I guess we all need to be prepared in December that there's gonna be money that we have to put into the pension fund.
Yes,
Yes.
for this year already, I mean, you know, yeah, they're gonna, police is already over $1 million and fire will get there eventually, and yeah, it's a rough road to hoe. Very shortly, I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, and the IMR, Illinois Municipal League is backing it for these local pension funds to turn their money over to the state, and they'll give it to us when we ask for it. Which is the response the two boards have, it's like, sure you will, you know?
So one other question was that the manager of the fire pension fund, he resigned sometime during the
Dave
year?
Heitbrink, with TD Ameritrade, decided he did not want to do it anymore, okay? And we went out and request for proposal, and we ended up with Zimnick and Walker, which also has the police pension fund. And their results have really actually, out for the 2 years or year and a half that we've had them, outpaced TD Ameritrade, and Dave's had always done spectacular. So both funds now have Zimnick and Walker.
So one nice thing about having the same fund manager for both funds is that they're able to get a 10% discount on the
Yes.
fees, which was a really good advance. So I guess Hyper did a really good job because when the market fell, they said, one of the firefighters told me that when, on the pension board said, the last time the market fell and everybody lost a bunch of money, he like either was only down 4% or up 4%. A year.
Dave had a lot in CDs, Steve, yeah, which we questioned from time to time, but in a down market, it did save him, yeah.
And that's probably one of the reasons the fire pension, I think, is about 68% funded. Is that-
Again, I don't know what it'll be this year.
So, and the police pension is about 10 or 12% less. So, I guess one of the other things about with the things going on at the state, with the suggestion that someone some bigger entity might collect all the money together, is that would save on management fees theoretically?
It would save each board about $80,000 or $90,000 a year.
But you're at the state's mercy then.
But then you're turning your money over to the state. And I'm not, no offense to the state, but I see you all kind of smiling, so.
They are doing
Yeah.
a real good job with their fiscal responsibility.
Well, if we give them more, put in one pool, they'll get more interest on it.
Well, what they do is they're gonna put it in, IMRF. And they always brag that IMRF does so much better. IMRF is allowed to invest more than 60% in equities. Okay, which these two funds are not allowed to, okay? So when the market goes up really good, IMRF could show 25% gain.
But
When it goes down really bad, it's gonna be worse than the pension funds with the safety net that Steve talked about.
But they have a tendency to borrow from those pension funds and never pay them back.
I'm not,
That's not IMF, that's the state pension funds. So.
well, they're underfunded too.
No, I'm not saying that, I'm not making any comments at all about the state, but the thing we have to watch is that we shouldn't blame the state for all our problems.
No, I don't mean to. The two boards unanimously, to a man, to a person, do not want the state to have their money. That's not me, although I agree, but they unanimously do not want to turn the money over to the state. What it looks like could happen is they try this with the smaller funds to do exactly what you're saying, to cut costs. I got a call from the Beardstown city treasurer, who's the ex officio treasurer of the pension, and they can't afford an investment advisor because their fund's under $2 million. Okay, so he's all for turning it over. What I think could happen is there's several versions of the bill, is they'll have the smaller funds turn it over, then the smaller funds are gonna say, oh, wow, this was great. And then the thinking is, and this comes from our board attorney, the state will just say, the small funds like it, so we're just gonna make it mandatory.
The bottom line is the city council has no say so in those.
None. Neither do the boards. If the state passes that law, and the Illinois Municipal League, at first, a couple of years ago, came out against it, now they're for it. But they're representing a lot of small townships too, so, again, I'm not, I don't know.
Well, firemen are really good at telling stories, and Harry Coop used to be on the pension board back in the Mayor Hocking days. And he said that he was on the pension board at the time, and he would go up to the mayor and say, I need this much money, and Mayor Hocking would kind of pat him on the head and said, that's nice, you're getting this much. So I think all our pensions, as you can tell by the amount we're funded, we're paying now for decisions that were made 10, 20 years ago. And one thing I'm watching for in the pension funds is how much it changes every year. And we like to say that, oh, they changed the actuarial assumptions and we owe more money, but it's something we really have to watch out for. We all like to kick the state, how they're underfunding their pensions, but we're doing the same thing with fire and police.
No, we're not underfunded. We are not, and that is not true, Steve.
How much are the fire and police pension funds?
We are not underfunding implies that we're not paying what the tax levy says we are to pay.
I
And we
didn't say
have
that.
never done that, ever.
I would never imply that because that would be a violation
Well,
of state law.
that's what underfunding means, I'm sorry.
No, I mean, how much is the police pension funded?
No, you said it yourself, in the 60s.
So I would say, if you say 60%, that means you're 40%.
That's not a result of us underfunding it. We're funding, overfunding. If you look on the last page of both of these reports, you'll see the extra money that was put into those funds from replacement tax.
Right.
100,000 plus and 138,000 we put in extra from replacement tax.
Very true. We
And-
from the replacement tax and also an increase in property taxes. 1.94% of our property taxes this year supposedly was to pay for
It's
that.
brutal. I mean, it's tough. It really is.
One thing to be certain of is that 2040 deadline for 90% funded.
Right.
90+, it'll change.
That's in one of the bills to make it 2060. And it's 80%. Yes.
But that's just because we're lobbying, saying we want to kick the can down the road. So we're doing the same thing the state's doing.
They do it. We don't do it.
I don't know who's lobbying for that, but
Well, I mean, there's some fire districts that are more than 100% funded. I mean, those are.
they already have 3 and 4 firemen.
Yes, and those are really nice districts. And actually, if you look at Jacksonville's numbers and if you compare us to other funds in the state, we're sort of in the top of the class, but the whole class is essentially failing except for a few smart kids.
Look at Springfield right now. I know some of the aldermen over there, they said they wish they were in the shape that we are when it comes to, for our pensions. And
Their
that's-
underfunding amount is 20, 30, 40 million, $20, $30 million.
But I think
And they're going to have to raise taxes and on and on and on and on, even just to catch up. So I know they said, you are in good shape in Jacksonville.
So when our people from Jacksonville go to Springfield, go to the mall, or to go to a restaurant, we're gonna help pay for their pensions. But the problem with Jacksonville is that not too many people from Springfield are gonna come over here and contribute to our pension fund. We're all a regional to Springfield, so we go there. So in a sense, they have a stronger economy, and their economy's been growing the past couple of years, and ours hasn't.
Not at the pace that they're underfunded.
Okay?
That's where they're going to, they're running the problem, but this is on and on.
Any more questions?
Yeah, anybody, any more questions? Again, if you look it over and see something you got a question about, call me, stop in, glad to help. If I don't know the answer, I'll find out.
Thank you.
I'm just trying to point out that it's gonna impact all our property taxes going forward. This is something we have to pay attention to. So, sorry to be a broken record, and whenever I say anything, I don't think anyone, our eyes glaze over, and they don't pay attention, but this is something that's really important, that's gonna get us
That it
a
is.
decade.
I agree. Wholeheartedly, I agree. And that's the reason why we always need to make sure that we're,
And Treasurer Smoljanek is correct, that the state is making us make contributions, which is great, but at the same time, there's lobbying going on, and we wanna not make contributions. So it's us and all the municipalities that don't wanna do it.
Tony, public protection.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I have just one, discuss awarding bid for 3 utility squad cars for the Jacksonville Police Department. That comes out of capital improvement. The chief, would you like to say anything more about that?
Just that we received 2 bids, and our local Westtown Ford was a little bidder on that, so we'll be
Good.
staying local.
Really? Did you get a bid from Marl?
Okay.
Good.
Shimmer Ford out of Peru, Illinois was the other bidder.
I'm glad you're staying here.
is it out there?
Good. Utility, Alderman Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 2 items tonight. Number 1, discuss engineering proposal for the Jones Place Lift Station Force Main Replacement Project, and Mr. Mark Soros can touch on that.
Okay, before I get into the proposal, since Jack can't be here tonight, I told him I'd just kind of give you guys an idea what's going on. Jones Place, which is a dead-end street, we have a lift station there that's, was put in the early 60s, late 50s. There's a force main, and it covers a pretty good size area. It picks up a good area of sanitary. And it's pumped through a force main going easterly to Grand and West College. There's a manhole there. It's roughly 810 feet. And it's a 6-inch force main, and it runs within West College vacated right-of-way, which was 60 foot of right-of-way. And there's evidently an easement also in there, but it runs through backyards. So instead of open cutting, we're gonna replace it with boring it, directional drill. So that's kinda what this proposal's for. Jack wants to replace the whole main from the lift station to the manhole. And he has, in the past several years, had the pumps replaced and revamped the inside of the lift station. So it still needs some work on the inside of the lift station, but right now, all he wants to do is the force main. So this engineering proposal is for task A and B, surveying and plans and specs for $11,600. And then later on, we'll do, like we usually do, have a proposal, engineering proposal for bidding and construction.
That straight line?
Mhm.
Street line pipe?
Pretty much so. Yeah, and it go, like I said, it goes through all those people. There's,
Yeah.
I don't know, like 7 residents off of West Fair Drive. There's like 7 houses. Their backyards are within the right of way, the vacated right of way. It's gonna take a little bit of research for the property before we can even think about.
See what's through there.
Mhm. Anybody else have any other questions? Thank you.
And number 2, discuss amendments to Scott Morgan Green North Morgan Water Co-op agreement.
Yeah, I'll take that. As you know, we've been in discussions for quite some time with both of the water cooperatives concerning the rates that we charge and the minimums that they have to purchase from us. To kind of give you the background, the rates that the city currently charges is 125% of rate card. The discussions really point out what additional charges they've got that are making their bills quite high. From our standpoint, our major concern was making sure that we had both of these cooperatives who've been very good partners with us, still purchasing water from us into the future. And the discussions finally centered around getting a minimum water purchase from each of the 2 co-ops in exchange for reducing the rates. And the discussions that we had and the amendments that we now have prepared reflect that they will be charged the same rates as city water customers in exchange for the 2 co-ops purchasing a minimum amount of water from us over the next 4 years, basically. And those minimum amounts for SMG is 33 million gallons. They do not have a minimum requirement in their contract now. If they could find another water source, they could completely terminate our contract. North Morgan, the minimum amount in their contract is 21 million gallons. And that, each of those figures represents the base that we used. We took 60% of 2017's usage to come up with those blended rates. North Morgan then, at agreeing to buy the 21 million gallons per year, is actually purchasing or agreeing to purchase more than what their present contract requires, which was they only had to purchase 50% plus 1 drop of water from the city. So the discussion's been ongoing for quite some time. I think this is a good both for the co-ops and for the city in its sense that it locks in the water sales over the next 40 years. Brad Wilson is here with representatives from both of the co-ops. If you have any questions for them, or Brad, if you want to add anything at all.
This is Rodney Becker, North Morgan President, and Steve Grubb, SMG President. Thank you guys for taking a look at this.
You feel this is fair, right?
We really want to get to the standard rate. I mean, that's been an issue for our rural customers for a long time. You know, obviously our own infrastructure that we have to pay for, and you know, meter readers and whatnot like that. And so it seems like it's been compromised to us to get to the standard rate.
Any questions at all? That is on the consent agenda for action tonight.
I think it's better what you discussed before, so, yeah, that's good.
Very good. Any public comment at this time? Seeing none, we will adjourn and go on to the vote.